What's going on, party people? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Hope you guys are having a great start to your week. We are in the dog days of the basketball season, meaning that officials, coaches, players, and broadcasters are running on fumes. That's just, it's the nature of the beast. And it's all good. We're all having fun. We all love what we do. But these are the days these are grind days. It's cold outside. We had some nice sunshine today in Chicago. I wasn't out in it because I had too much stuff to do on my day off, my days off when I'm not calling games. So we fight through it, and we still love what we're doing, even though we're struggling a little bit. A lot to get to. I'm going to do some analysis on the teams that and the week that they've had and the matchups that they have coming up. We'll talk about games to watch. And then I'm going to give some hot takes on some national topics, mainly Bruce Pearl at Auburn, which I know Illini fans will want to jump in and chew his behind, and also Chris Mack at Louisville. So Brian K. Hurd, Tara Lee Miller, Go Illini 9094, M.R. Scott 2U, Quick Squirt, and thanks for jumping in, guys. I appreciate it. Hope everybody's good. Let's get to my power rankings. Let's start off with that. So number one this week, I've got the Fighting Illini as the number one team. They had two really impressive wins, one over Michigan State without Kofi Cockburn or Andre Curbelo. Both were out, and they were able to hang on. They had one field goal, I believe, in the last 9 minutes of the game. Trent Frazier put his Superman cape on. And then they got Kofi Cockburn back for the Northwestern game, which I did. And, man, that was a physical, old-school Big Ten brawl. I mean, man, Northwestern played their tails off. Had a lead down the stretch. Illinois tied it. Got some great contributions off the bench from R.J. Melendez, freshman. Brandon Pajemski, freshman, stepped up big time. And he was on the floor at the end of the game. So they got great contributions. Andre Curbelo was out from health and safety protocols. So the Illini, considering that they're top of the Big Ten Conference, they've only had 3 games this year. 3. When they had everybody playing. When Andre Curbelo, Kofi Cockburn, Trent Frazier, and the crew were all together. Only 3 games, and they're in first place with Wisconsin. So that's the number one team of the week. Number 2 is Wisconsin. They won at Nebraska, and they had a tougher victory yesterday at home against Minnesota. Minnesota is a very competitive squad, a little manned in terms of depth. I believe they got Jamison Battle back yesterday. Eric Curry came back, so they're starting to get healthy for the team that really doesn't have a ton of depth, and they were just barely getting by, getting 7 scholarship players ready to play. But Wisconsin takes care of business. They're 2-0 over the week, so they come in at number 2. Johnny Davis is up for Player of the Year candidate in the country, not just in the Big Ten, in the country. The number 3 team this week is the Purdue Boilermakers. They did a really good job and held off a furious comeback from Ohio State. They had Ohio State down by 20 points, and Ohio State came back and tied the score, but then they were able to go on and win in the victory. Let me check something real quick. Let's see. Hold on real quick. Just had to send my executive producer a note. Number 4 is Michigan State. Loss at Illinois really hurt them. And they were number 1 last week, and that's why they dropped down to number 4, because they lost at Illinois, and Illinois did not have Kofi Cockburn or Andre Curbelo, and the Illini was still able to win that game. And then they really beat Michigan up, especially in the second half on Saturday at home. Malik Hall is really rounding out to maybe their go-to player. I thought it would be Gabe Brown, but he has really struggled offensively the last 5 to 6 games in conference play, but Malik Hall has been outstanding. He and Max Christie were really good in their victory over Michigan. Number 5, Indiana. Indiana moves up 3 spots. They were number 8 last week. They move up 3 spots, and they got 2 big wins. They were able to take care of business. They won at Penn State, and then they pounded Maryland by double digits. And the interesting thing about Indiana, the last 2 conference wins, Trace Jackson Davis was not their leading scorer. Race Thompson and Xavier Johnson were. So Indiana's starting to find ways to win, even though Trace Jackson Davis isn't their leading scorer. That has been something that's been a little unusual for them. Usually Trace Jackson Davis has to have a really good game in order for Indiana to win tough Big Ten games, but they're finding different ways to get those wins without him being the man. That really bodes well for the Hoosiers moving forward. They come in at number 5. Number 6, Ohio State. The aforementioned really close comeback towards the end. They almost closed the deal, but Jaden Ivey had a last-second 3 at the buzzer to beat Ohio State. So they lose on the road at Purdue, which is no shame. I believe that was Ohio State's. Yeah, they beat Minnesota at home in a close. No, they won at Minnesota. Close, hard-fought game for the Buckeyes. And then they go to Purdue and lose on that last-second 3. So Ohio State comes in at number 6. Zach Brenneman, Mike Heater, the real Adlam, their Almar 13, John Rothstein. What's up, John? Hardest working man in college basketball. If you guys aren't following John Rothstein on Twitter, you're really missing out. He does a great job of covering everybody, not the Power 5, not just the so-called mid-major. He covers everybody and does a great job with it. So follow John Rothstein, JON. Rothstein on Instagram. Look up John Rothstein. You'll see him on Twitter. He does a great job covering college basketball. John, thanks for joining, man. Appreciate your support. Thanks for having you on. Thanks for jumping on. Soleil Chicago, my girl's on here. One of the best soul food restaurants you'll find in all of the United States. Not just in Chicago, all the United States. The Chicago Bulls are there a lot. Check out Soleil Chicago. Check that out. Tina Strong, what's good? Good to see you. K Sims 1, what's happening? Aquarius Lone, Johnny Fain, Carbondale's finest, Jay Hood, Chi-Town's finest, Do 2828. Thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, let me know. Number 7 this week is Michigan. They were able to get a 2-point victory at home over Northwestern, and then they got smacked a little bit at Michigan State. It's interesting. Dickinson was their leading scorer at Michigan State. The young man for Michigan that's really struggling, in my opinion, that's been very inconsistent is Caleb Houston. Now, he was their leading scorer in their victory at home versus Northwestern, but he's really struggled to find some consistency. Musa Diabate is starting to come on a little bit more. He's having a little bit more consistency, but Michigan struggles, in my opinion, on the perimeter. Dante Jones just has not been he's not been what they thought he would be. He's not Mike Smith 2.0. He's not. He's been inconsistent. Eli Brooks is not a go-to scorer. There's no harm in that. There's no shame in that. But Eli Brooks is a complementary piece. If he's one of your main guys that you have to lean on, I don't know that he has the skill set to carry a team like Michigan through the gauntlet of the Big Ten Conference slate. So Hunter Dickinson is their main go-to guy. Eli Brooks is a really good complementary piece, but he's being thrust into a role that I'm not sure his skill set can match. Like I said, no knock on Eli because I love the young man. Coming in at number 8 this week is Iowa. They only had one game. They lost at home by Purdue by 10 points. No shame in that. Keegan Murray's continued to score the basketball at a high rate. But Iowa, defensively, they will struggle against the elite teams in this conference. Number 9 is Rutgers. They had a bad home loss to Maryland and barely escaped at Nebraska, which is no slouch. They went to Nebraska, got a 2-point win, but that loss at home to Maryland will hurt them a little bit. Number 10, the Maryland Terrapins. I know I've got Maryland behind Rutgers, and Maryland just beat Rutgers, but Maryland has really struggled up until this last week. They got a big home win against a Kofi Coburn less. He did not play against Illinois. Andre Curbelo was not himself. Maryland got to win, but so they won at Rutgers, and they got pounded at home by Indiana. So that I made a tough decision. I put Rutgers slightly ahead of Maryland because Rutgers has done better in the Big Ten Conference slate than Maryland has, even though Maryland starting to play a little bit better. 11, Northwestern. If they had any luck, it's bad luck. Northwestern has dropped 8 of their last 9 games. And in those 9 games, ladies and gentlemen, they've only lost one of those games by double digits. Every other game has been single digits. I believe within 8, it's been 8 points or less. So they got a 2-point victory in those 9-game slate. They got a 2-point victory over Michigan State. All the other ones they've lost. They lost by 3 to Illinois. They lost by 2 at Michigan. They lost to Wisconsin at home, and they got a bad call down the stretch that would have put a lot of pressure on Wisconsin. Wisconsin ended up winning, I believe, by 6 or 7 points, but it was down to the wire. This Northwestern team is so competitive, but they just can't find a way to win. So that's why I have them at that position. Number 12 is Minnesota. They got good news because Eric Curry came back yesterday. They just don't have the manpower, but they are competitive, similar to Northwestern, and they've been able to pull off some victories. So, early in the Big Ten slate, they struggled as of late. They come in at 12. 13, Penn State. They have Iowa at home and a tough road test at Wisconsin this Saturday, which yours truly will be calling for Big Ten Network. So make sure you tune in on that. And then last, but certainly not least, is Nebraska. They keep playing teams tough. They just can't get over the hump. They haven't won a Big Ten game yet. They pushed Rutgers to the brink. They've had teams in overtime. They're going to get somebody eventually, but they haven't been able to break through as of yet. And let's see, Joe Stovall, Michigan lost 4 professional players from last year. Thought Brandon Johns would contribute more this year, as did I. Will Danny Manning get the interim tag removed at Maryland? And who is the player of the year, Ivy, Davis, or Coburn? Joe Stovall, tribe member. If you guys want to be a member of the tribe, text me 312-847-2739 or go to Bardo's breakdown group, answer 3 simple questions, and you're in. Joe says, can you put that back up, Tony? Let me see that again. Joe says, yes, Michigan lost Shondy Brown. I believe Michael Smith is somewhere playing. Wagner, who's playing with Orlando with his brother, Mo, Franz Wagner, and Isaiah Livers, who's with the Detroit Pistons. So Joe is exactly right. They did lose 4 professional players. Brandon Johns is a guy I thought would be an X factor. Joe, I agree with you on that. You just don't know with some of these young players when they're asked to step up their role. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. He seems like a guy that really struggles with his confidence. And in basketball, you cannot struggle with your confidence because you cannot perform night in and night out if you struggle in that regard. And I think that's what's going on. Will Danny Manning retain or get the interim tag removed from Maryland? That's a fickle fan base, Joe. That's a funny fan base. It is one that has extremely high expectations because they have a national championship under their belt in the 2000s when Maryland beat Indiana in the national championship game. I believe that was 2002. Was it that long ago? Wow. It's been a minute. But and they were part of the ACC then. They weren't part of the Big Ten. So Maryland fans are still pissed off because Maryland's is in the Big Ten and they're not in the ACC. The Maryland fans want a big name. I'm not sure that Danny Manning's name will be big enough. I've heard Rick Pitino's name floated around. I know that Bruce Pearl was going to be in the mix before Auburn locked him up. I think Chris Holtman of Ohio State will be, his name has been out there a little bit. Brad Underwood at Illinois, his name has been bantered back and forth a little bit for the Maryland job. There's going to be some big name coaches who are currently coaching very good situations who are going to be try to be lured away from their current situation, because Maryland is thought of as a top 10, top 15 job in the country. So I'm not sure, Joe, that Danny is going to get that interim tag removed. If the team started to play a lot better, that would be one thing, but that's going to be a tough thing. And then the last thing was, who is the player of the year so far in the Big Ten Conference slate? Is it Jaden Ivey? Is it Johnny Davis? Or is it Kofi Cockburn? I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Johnny Davis right now. His production, his numbers have been more consistent. I think that Illinois was thought of as a top 2 or top 3 Big Ten team to start the season. They have held serve in those preseason prognostications. However, Wisconsin was not thought of, in my opinion, as a top 3 team. And they have exceeded expectations, now tied with Illinois at the top of the Big Ten Conference. So Wisconsin has done better in better than preseason prognostications. Johnny Davis has been one of the leading scorers, not only in the Big Ten, but in the country consistently for the season. His rebound numbers are incredible. He had 16 points and 15 rebounds yesterday in Wisconsin's victory over Minnesota. So I give the slight edge right now to Johnny Davis. But if Jaden Ivey keeps hitting 3-point shots like that, and Kofi Cockburn can keep averaging a double-double, that might shift before the end of the season, before the end of the conference season. But as of right now, I give the edge to Johnny Davis of Wisconsin. But great question, Joe, as always. Curtis Dietz, I hope that answered your question. Is Maryland a great job? Yes, it is. It's a very difficult job because they have high expectations. You're in the DMV area. The Washington, D.C. area is talent rich. There are more hoopers, I believe, in the DMV area per capita than any other place in the country. It used to be Atlanta, Seattle for a while, but the DMV for the last 20, 25 years, I believe consistently has put out more D1 and NBA players per capita based on their size than anywhere else in the country. So yes, Maryland is a coveted position, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Games to watch this week in the Big Ten Conference. Tomorrow is a huge one. This is for sole possession of first place. Wisconsin at Illinois on Big Ten Network. That will be at 8 p.m. Also tomorrow, Purdue at Minnesota. Yours truly, I will be on the call at 6 p.m. On Big Ten Network. Purdue versus at Minnesota. Purdue's front line will probably wear down Minnesota, but Minnesota's been very competitive, and it's in Williams Arena, where they play very, very well. On Saturday, Michigan State goes to Rutgers. Now, you might say, well, why is that one of the games to watch? Well, Rutgers has been outstanding at home. They had a slip-up where I think they probably weren't ready to play against Maryland, and Maryland came in and surprised them. But the RAC, it's now called Jersey Mike's Arena, which I'm going to have a hard time ever saying because Jersey Mike's ain't putting no damn money in my pocket. It's the RAC. The RAC, whenever ranked teams come into the RAC, it's not unusual that they leave with an L. So that's one to watch. And then also, Illinois and Indiana will be on ESPN on Saturday. That's always a great rivalry matchup. Whenever these two teams hook up in Assembly Hall over in Bloomington, Indiana, something always special happens. So make sure you watch those 4 games. Those are 4 games to watch. Terry Campbell, good to see you. What's up, Kim? How you doing? Good to see you. Northwestern is the best 9 and 10 team in the country, says Brian K. Hurd. I can't disagree with you on that, my man. Luke B.06, thanks for joining. Raphael Adlam says, if you had to pick 5 players for the first team Big Ten based on how they're playing now, who would it be? Kofi Cockburn, Johnny Davis, Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey. Ooh. Maybe EJ Liddell or Hunter Dickinson. Those would be my 5 or 6. That's a great question, Raphael. Thank you for that. Similar to what Joe Stofall asked as well. E. Wells, 678. I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. C.A. Suggs, Nathan Hartwick, thank you for joining. So, yeah, those are the games to watch. And now let me get to my hot topic takes because oh, wait a minute. Nope. Let me do this first. Let me go to the team of the week and the team that's struggling. Let me put up my team of the week. Let me do that first. It's the Fighting Illini. They had a tremendous week because they beat Michigan State at home without Andre Corbello or Kofi Cockburn. Michigan State is right behind Illinois and Wisconsin in the Big Ten standings. I believe they're half game behind in the win column. They are ranked 11th in the country. Illinois was able to hold on and beat them at home without arguably their two best players. I'm starting to think Trent Frazier is more valuable to the Illini than Andre Corbello. So without one of their best players, Kofi Cockburn and Andre Corbello, Illinois was able to win that game. Then they went on the road at Northwestern without Andre Corbello, had a dogfight. Northwestern played their tails off, and Illinois was able to come away with a victory because Kofi Cockburn, coming off of a concussion, dropped 21-9 in a game where they were swarming him. He got to the free throw line. He made nice passes. He made really nice moves, counter moves. He was outstanding. So Illinois is my Big Ten team of the week this past week. The team that's struggling that I mentioned before, the Northwestern Wildcats. I just want to go up and hug all those guys because you can never fault them for their effort. They play hard as hell every game, and yet they just have not found a way to get over the hump. They did against Michigan State at home, 62-60 victory earlier this month. But, man, they have been snake bitten on close games. They are 2-9, I believe, on games 8 points or less, decided by 8 points or less this season. They are 2-9. So that lets you know that they're a competitive team. They're a good team. They just have not been able to get over the hump. All right. Thank you for getting that in, Tony. I almost forgot. Now, let me go to my hot takes because I really got something to say here. I really have something to say here. And it really bothered me when this stuff came through. So first, let's go to the Louisville situation, the Louisville Cardinals situation. And this show might run a little bit longer than 30 minutes because I got a few things to get off my chest. In case you guys know, University of Louisville and their head coach, Chris Mack, agreed to part ways. Now, let me give you some backstory if you guys don't know what's going on. Chris Mack had an assistant that tried to shake him down, Dino Gaudio. You might remember that name. He was doing television for ESPN, covering college basketball for years, and he's really good on TV. I enjoy watching him. He left TV, went and helped his man out at Louisville, and he goes in and tries to shake down Chris Mack. Chris Mack is wearing a wire, records a conversation to save his behind. Then Chris Mack meets with the athletic director at Louisville and lies to the athletic director about stuff that's going on, right? Keep all this in mind. This sounds like a soap opera, but it's not. It's true. So then Chris Mack gets a 6-game suspension after all this stuff goes on and after all these NCAA investigations into the program, and he gets to agree to part ways in the media? Are you serious? And he's going to walk with $5 million? Yet Kevin Ollie, who won a national championship for UConn, his alma mater, won a national championship. UConn fires him with cause. You know what they fired him about, ladies and gentlemen? His assistant didn't try to shake him down. He didn't lie to his athletic director They tried to get Kevin Ollie and his staff on recruiting violations for too many phone calls. Now think about that for a second. So Kevin Ollie has to spend 6 figures to take University of Connecticut to court, wins the battle, and gets awarded the money he should have gotten in the first place, $11 million. Now, you all know he's not going to see all that $11 million because he's got attorney's fees. He's got all these other fees. So, he ain't hurting. But he's got to go to court to get what's rightfully his. And yet you got the Sopranos in Louisville led by Chris Mack, and this dude gets to part ways. That's what they said in the media. He gets to part ways in the middle of the season. Are y'all see where I'm going with this, right? I don't think I have to. Y'all can read between the lines where I'm going with this, right? So when you think about the NCAA, you think about the integrity, and people have a hard time with players getting NIL money. Get out of here with that. That's a terrible double standard. And so I don't know. Anyway, so I couldn't believe that when he gets to part ways. Because what happens is when Kevin Ollie got fired, nobody in the NCAA would touch him again. Right? Because he got fired from UConn. He won a national championship. Chris Mack ain't won nothing. Nothing close to a national championship. And he gets to part ways with $5 million. So in doing so, in parting ways, he'll sit out this year. He'll probably sit out next year, go on some kind of media thing. And then I guarantee you, because Chris Mack can coach now. I'm not saying he can't coach. The dude can coach. He wouldn't have gotten the Louisville job had he not been able to coach. But the irony, the double standard is hurtful to me and other coaches that look like me in the NCAA tournament. In the NCAA. It's very hurtful to see the double standard. So I will rest. I'll put that to rest. I had to rant on that. Let me rant on this next subject, and then I'm not going to do story time with Stephen. I'm going to come back and answer your questions if you have any based on what we've been talking about. Grindhouse, Carol Kyrie, thanks for joining. Jay Drake, 2000, good to see you. The next topic, Illinois fans are going to love this. Bruce Pearl gets a lifetime contract at Auburn. Bruce Pearl signs a massive contract at Auburn, making him the 4th highest paid coach in the country behind Mike Krzyzewski, John Calipari, and Jay Wright. So there's a lot of things that go into play here. Auburn becomes number 1 in the country for the first time ever. They're balling. They got a great team. And again, like Chris Mack, Bruce Pearl can coach. I'm not questioning their coaching ability. Bruce Pearl's a really good coach. So it's a perfect storm for Bruce. So Auburn becomes number 1 in the country. The Louisville job now becomes open, and Bruce Pearl was the first name that they threw out there. So the Auburn AD was smart. He says, you know what? We've never been number 1 in the country for basketball. Louisville's going to try to come get Bruce Pearl. I got to lock this dude up. He got I believe he got a $50-something million contract over 8 years, and it escalates every year. So the last year of the deal, Bruce Pearl will be making about $7.5 million. So I'm going to go back to that word integrity again. Does Chuck Person get any of that money that Bruce Pearl is going to get? Because Chuck Person got those players that has gotten Auburn to number 1 right now. Chuck Person brought those players in. But he was caught up in the FBI investigation, an FBI investigation that only punished 4 black assistants. Didn't punish any head coaches And these assistants are working on their own behalf. They're cheating on their own behalf. So my question is, does Chuck Person get $1 million? Does he get $500,000 a year for the rest of this contract because he helped bring the players to Auburn that made them number one? Yes, Bruce Pearl closed the deals. Yes, he is the head coach. Yes, he has put in a system that has gotten them to number one. But best believe they're not number one without the players. No team is upper echelon without the best players. He helped them get that. So should Chuck Person get a payment? Even though he's banned now from basketball, hopefully he resurfaces in the NBA. He will never be able to be in college basketball again. But yet Bruce Pearl, who when was being investigated, refused to talk to the athletic director at Auburn. I don't know if there's a different athletic director now. I don't know. I'm a little murky on that. I need to do a little bit more research. But Bruce Pearl refused to cooperate with an NCAA investigation. He refused to talk to his athletic director about it. Y'all see where I'm going with this? So it's really it leaves a sour taste in my mouth when I hear this BS about integrity and this BS story about, why should student athletes get paid? Really? With name, image, and likeness, we can put that bullshit to bed, right? My hope is, excuse my French, but I want to put some emphasis there because it was BS to begin with. That whole argument was BS. But if these coaches who have integrity can get these millions of dollars and get a golden parachute to go away, because that's what Louisville did to Chris Mack. They gave him $5 million to go away and said that we're not gonna put out in the media that we fired you. We agreed to part ways. Y'all see where I'm going with that? And then Bruce Pearl, after all the stuff that he has done, I mean, come on now. We can go back to when he was an Iowa assistant with the whole Deion Thomas situation. That was 1990, ladies and gentlemen. That was my senior year of college. That's 30-something years ago. We can go back 30-something years ago to that. We can go back to Tennessee, where Aaron Kraft was invited to a barbecue as a junior, which violated NCAA rules. We can go back to Tennessee. We can go back to Auburn, who was in the crosshairs of an FBI investigation. And now this guy is celebrated and lauded with a $50 million lifetime contract. So where's the integrity? And these college players who if I were to do the math and the numbers, I would say a majority of them, the ones that are African American anyway, don't come from backgrounds of means. And yet they're supposed to have more integrity than the people that are trying to attract them to these programs. Y'all see the irony and the BS in that? So that's my rant. So let's hear it, y'all. Come on with it. Give me your thoughts. Give me your questions. Because I had to get that off my chest. I was a little bit upset this week when I heard some of these things. Bruce don't care about anyone, about anything or anyone but himself. Eric Lieber. Eric, the guys that play for Bruce, they like him. I'm not gonna say he doesn't look after his players. What I'm saying is that he has been the beneficiary of some shady, non-integrity behavior, and yet he's rewarded every single time. Every single time. Pearl uses his assistants to do his dirty work. Gary, everybody uses their assistants to do the dirty work. The LSU assistant, the Arizona assistant, the Auburn assistant, and the USC assistant. Tony Bland, Book Richardson. The assistant at LSU, his name is escaping me. All the assistants do the dirty work. They all do. And it's not just at one school, it's at all the schools. That's the system. And it's a system that I make my living off of. That's why I would like to see that word integrity used by everybody. It would be nice, right? And if it's not, then don't say anything to players that get money under the table. Don't say anything about that. Throw out the NCAA violations around that. NIL money, yeah, that's fine. But if some booster wants to come and give a kid $500,000 so he doesn't go to the rival school, let him do it. Let him do it. It's capitalism, right? I don't like Pearl, but that guy can coach, says Curtis Dietz. He has won everywhere he has been. I agree. Anytime I trash him, he gets the last laugh when he beats one of my teams. Hey, listen, I prefaced that at the beginning. I said, this dude can coach. I would never say that Bruce Pearl can't coach. I will never say that Chris Mack can't coach. Both these guys are really good coaches. They wouldn't have gotten the jobs they got if they couldn't. But I'm talking about the double standard that is in play that is blatantly obvious. And nobody talks about it. So I'm on Bardo's breakdown. That's why I'm talking about it. Do you think if you could do it over, Painter doesn't call timeout with 31 seconds up 6 when Ohio State has 0 timeouts? Feels like him doing that gave Holtman time to draw up some offensive plays. It's hard to say, Raphael, because when you're in the heat of the battle, Matt Painter saw something that he didn't like. So that's why he called timeout, to get his guys set for defensive set. And you got to tip your hat to Ohio State. What Raphael is referencing is that game yesterday when Ohio State was down 20 in the second half, came back to tie the game up, and it took a Jay Nivey 3 to win the game at the buzzer for Purdue. And by the way, that was the first time that Purdue has won a game on a last-second shot, I believe, in the last 25 seasons. So it's a very rare occurrence for Purdue to win a last-second game on a last-second shot. And Jay Nivey was clutch in that situation. B-Ball Coach 12, M. Montel 638. Thanks for joining. Are the without a doubt Hoosiers back? The Hoosiers are playing better. They're definitely playing better. Please don't mention the name criminal Bruce Pearl. He's been involved in criminal activity for years. Yeah, but I mean, is it criminal? Is it criminal Ewell 67? Because he's allowed to do it. If it's criminal activity, you should be punished for that. But he's allowed to do it. So is it really criminal activity? Kenny McReynolds, what's going on? Drew Lawler, thanks for joining. What's up, Aaron Janowski? Good luck on your game tonight. He's announcing a Proviso East game. Yes, Jason Fisher, I did throw that pass to Kenny Battle to win that. Let's see. Let me go down here. Curtis Dietz says, I always try to save. Hold on, let me put this up. I always try to save 2 timeouts for the final 2 minutes. Makes me mad when guys call timeouts on loose balls in first half. Yeah, Curtis, every coach has their strategy about what they want to do and how they want to do it. And you got, Curtis, this. Every team you have is different. So some teams can move on the fly. Some teams can work through adversity without calling timeouts. Sometimes you have a younger team that needs a timeout to get restructured, get refocused, and get set in critical opportunities. So I'm never going to criticize Matt Painter because he's one of the best coaches in the business. Hands down, he's one of the best coaches in the business. And Brad Underwood should start getting a lot more credit for his ability to coach, because Brad Underwood is doing some amazing things with only having his roster intact for 3 games this season, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that for a second. Illinois is ranked 18th in the country. They're at the top of the Big Ten Conference, tied with Wisconsin, and they've had their roster intact for 3 games all season. Not just Big Ten play, all season. They've only had everybody on their roster ready to play and intact for 3 games. And they're at the top of the Big Ten race with half of the Big Ten race left to go. So Brad Underwood, I tip my hat to him at the University of Illinois. That dude can coach. And I said on the air the other day that Ben Johnson is the front runner for Big Ten Coach of the Year. If Illinois continues this route, I think Brad Underwood will be the Big Ten Coach of the Year because he's done an outstanding job massaging and managing his roster. Steve Prophet, oh, okay. You're preaching today, name, image, and likeness means what? Says Donovan Lane. Name, image, and likeness, Donovan, thank you, by the way. That's Donovan Lane, tribe member, calling in from Singapore, one of my biggest supporters. I love my man. He's Bardo's breakdown tribe if there ever was one. Donovan, name, image, and likeness means that basketball players or college athletes can make money off their name, image, and likeness. So it simply means that they can cut deals with an outside entity, and whatever they negotiate, they can make money on that. Okay, that's all that means. Name, image, and likeness is a proper way to say that college athletes can make money off of their name, which they couldn't before. Why isn't Self in trouble, says Jason Fisher? I don't know. That's a good question. I love Bill Self, so I didn't really look into all that went into the FBI investigation around Kansas. I know there were some things on a wiretap that were revealed. Meredith Evans, good to see you. Calvin Cavada, thanks for jumping in. Good to see you. So I don't know the specifics around Kansas and Bill Self, but he was in the crosshairs of the FBI investigation. So I don't know what happened there. I know that Sean Miller, maybe Arizona didn't want to make it look like all the smoke that was around that FBI investigation caused his demise. They waited a full year, but then they let go of Sean Miller. And boy, are they glad they did. Because right now, Arizona is one of the best teams in the country. And they're having a great, great season. And Tommy Lloyd, a longtime assistant for Gonzaga, who is now the head coach at Arizona, looks like the real deal. He's doing a hell of a job. Let me see. Do I have any others? That looks like that's about it for the questions. Thank you for letting me rant. Thank you for letting me go on a little bit longer than I normally do. Please check back in to Bardo's breakdown page throughout the week. I put posts up there. I'll show behind the scenes stuff with the Bucks, or when I'm on the road calling games with Big Ten Network or Fox 1 Sports or Fox Sports 1 or Big Fox. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. If you want to be in, I've got a newsletter. If you want to be a part of the newsletter, comes out once a week. There's some fun and interesting things there. Go to Bardo's breakdown page and ask to be a part of the newsletter, and you can do so. I will add you to the list. All you got to do is share your email address, and you're in there. You go to you can text me to 312-847-2739 to be a part of the tribe, or you can go to Bardo's breakdown page or Bardo's breakdown group and join the group, and you're in. Thank you so much. I can't thank you guys enough for your time. It means the world to me that you would take this amount of time, because I know how precious time is. Hug and kiss your loved ones. Tell them that you love them, because tomorrow's not promised. Have a great rest of your week. Let's have a great week of Big Ten and college basketball ahead. And I will come to you sporadically, sometimes spontaneously throughout the week. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.